panel. Let's see and let's analyze what happened in the opening opposition side of the house from the very beginning. First idea from the opening opposition side of the house, when they believe that they want to do some rehabilitations toward the people that doing the corruptions or corruptors itself. But in here, the questions you like to ask is what kind of the rehabilitation they would like to do to the corruptors itself, right? What is the real mechanism? There is no real mechanisms or complex mechanisms coming from opening opposition side of the house when they want to do the rehabilitation toward the corruptors itself, because we believe in here the only effective rehabilitation under our side of the house only going to jail. This is the only way that can change the people itself, right? Not by doing like giving the advice for someone, giving some things that is really some things that the opening opposition side of the house never explained it before under their side of the house. That's we think that's why we think this is still confusing under their side of the house, right? And the second of thing is they really worrying about the family of the corruptors when we do impoverish the corruptors itself. But in here we say that under our side of the house we still justify to impoverish, and this is will not harm the family of the corruptors itself, because in here we believe that the family of the corruptors itself is also another actor behind the corruptor itself, right? Even if without their consent, they still consumes the money that coming from the corruptor, and then why they still justify, I will integrate it under our mechanisms. And in here, Mr. Madam Chair, what make we closing government side of the house absolutely different from the opening government side of the house, and why our team contribution in this debate will achieve the ideal world with the three key respect. Firstly, under our side of the house, what kind of the corruptions that we impoverish? We think under our side of the house, the corruption case that we want to impoverish is, doesn't matter how small the amount of money that the corruptors take from the society, but it still impact the society, impact other people, especially the people that have a poor, that they have a really don't even have access to healthcare, education, and another thing. That is the kind of corruption case that we believe in here. That is how doesn't matter how small amount, but whole corruption case that impacting other people's life, especially for the poor people itself, right? So that's why we think the corruptor itself will be make a better work under our side of the house with our following mechanisms. First mechanisms coming from under our side of the house. Firstly, that how we can impoverish, or mechanisms that we want to do in order to impoverish the corruptors that doing corruption itself. Firstly, we still like prove them that they are doing something wrong. They still follow the court, like still going to court, and then when the extension or some things that exactly showing that they do a corruption itself, when they're following every step in the court, and then after that people or the actor is exactly doing the corruption, we as a government side of the house want to take them or go them to the jail, right? And then after they go to the jail, here's the mechanisms absolutely different. And then after they're going to the jail and they're free or out, they finish from their punishment. This is the some things that make we are different is no more chance for the political war for the corruptors itself, right? Under our side of the house, we still giving them chance to access the job, but some things that we want to abolish here is about their capacity to become the leader or to become the political, and then we take all of the asset that that the corruptor have, whatever whole asset that the corruptor have and everything. So that's why impoverish and make them become a really and make them become a poor person, because we take all of the asset after they following every step, like every step we take all of the asset and then we give them to the society, back to the society, to be a really proper persons. And I have to talk two things in my speech. Firstly, why doing this kind of things is some things that are absolutely good, and then what is the impact to the society. Firstly, why doing impoverish to the corruptors is something that really benefit, really justify. We believe that in the case of corruptors, when they take or stole money from our country, for example in Indonesia, for example, that the money is can using poor people, like really poor people. They want to access to the children, they want to give the access to the children to education. They're really hard to access the medications and everything's in order to fulfill their human needs. That's we think why it is something that really justify to prevent or to impoverish the corruptor is under our side of the house, right? Because they are do the higher level of crime with stolen the money, that the money can become the determiner of the next life of the people itself, right? For example, poor people itself, right? That's we think why we can say that impoverish will be only the way that make our ideal world is become stable under our side of the house, right? Because corruption is the higher levels of crimes that can impact whole people in the world, country, or even more. And then the second thing is why this will achieve this stable in a society. We believe that right now there are so many like narrations under the society that say that we don't believe with stop to believing with government, because government is so much lying and so much doing the corruption itself. So that's why if we do this kind of mechanisms or do it impoverish itself, will make the society will believes with it. Oh, this is something that exactly for punishment for the corruptor itself. So that's why under our mechanisms I beg to propose.
Before I start my speech, I'd like to apologize in advance if there are some unexpected background noises. So I'll try to speak louder. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, I'll divide my speech into 3 sections. First, I will respond towards the opening opposition teams out of the House, and then I'm going to state what is it exactly the distance between us as the closing government and the opening government. And then third section is going to be why our mechanism is gonna be better than opening government and why it is going to tackle the worry of opening opposition, right? So first things first, let's talk about the opening opposition. We understand that their main contribution is actually talking about these corruptors is actually going to be put in a rehab, right? In hope that they could stop their incentive to basically to do another corruption in the near future. We think that this kind of thing is actually going to have a slightest possibility for you to achieve it. Because of why? When you're talking about the root of corruption itself is sometimes most of the time the root itself is actually because there is an existence of chance and the power itself. So the question is, how are you going to be sure that rehabilitation is going to stop people when there is a chance and there is power that they could use to do corruption itself? Since the chance for you to make, even though that after they did it, they are going to find more chances and more chances to do another corruption, right? If the chances for the ex-corruptor is already slightest chances, how are you going to be sure that another corruptor or future corruptors is going to stop their willingness to do this kind of thing? Because they think that if I did corruption right now, people are only going to give me some sort of rehabilitation. I'm not going to get any kind of punishment, etc., etc. And then second worry from the opening opposition, right? They are talking about family. I will tell you why this is actually going to be tackled under our mechanism, right? So moving to my second section, our distance with opening government. With the opening government, I already stated to you before the fact that they want to specify this kind of corruption to big time corruption. We think that this is a clear distance between us and them, right? We are going, our mechanism in here, I'm going to state to you one more. We are going to punish all kind of corruption as long as it is impacted to the society, as long as it has something to do with people's money, ladies and gentlemen, all kind of it, whether it is small or big, all kind of it, right? So why this is actually justifiable? Because here's the thing, it is actually justified for us to take somebody else's right if that person is actually already taken somebody else's right in the very first hand, ladies and gentlemen. So it is going to be justifiable for us to actually take their rights, take the rights of these corruption or of these corruptors, because they have taken somebody else's right in the very first place. So this is the main question. This is the main question from the opening opposition, right? Why is it actually justifiable? I already answered that in the first place. Now, second, so our mechanism in here, we are going to prove them, right? They're still going to go into court. They're still going to do all the necessary system that they have to be done in the first place. And second, after they have been proven that they did something wrong, we are going to put them in jail. And not only that, not only we're going to put them in jail, we're also going to take all their assets. So this is actually going to create some sort of a deterrent effect. The fact that if you did a corruption, doesn't matter how small or big it is, doesn't matter how small or big it is, as long as it is impacting somebody else's life, as long as it is impacting society's life, to be more specific, it is going to create some sort of a better prevention in the future. The fact that people will be afraid that even though they have chance and even though they have power, they're not going to do this because they know after I did the corruption, it is going to be a very harmful into my family, into my life, and into my family. Third, our third process of mechanism, right? This is our third point of the mechanism is actually after they got out from the jail, we're actually still going to let them have a job, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to let them have a job, but we're going to cut off all of their political connection. We are going to cut off all of their political right, meaning that they cannot putting themselves again to become a governor, for example, etc., etc. So we're going to cut off all this kind of thing, and they're actually going to get a job in. They're actually going to get a job, a low-level kind of job, so that they could really, they could actually have a life, and it won't going to be a burden to the state, right? Now, when we're talking about family, their family is actually still going to have another. They're still going to have their right, ladies and gentlemen. The kids is actually still allowed to go to the school. Their wife is actually still allowed to have some sort of a job, etc., etc. So we are not actually impoverishing them, meaning that we are not going to give them education, we are not going to give them job, etc., etc. No, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about this. So this kind of thing, the worry of the opening opposition teams at the house when you're talking about family is actually going to be tackled by our mechanism in the very first place, because after they got out, they still have the right to have a job but it doesn't mean but we are just going to cut off their political connection, so they can actually go into another political kind of candidating or some sort of like that. So these are the clear distance between us and the opening government, and why the opening opposition is actually their worry is actually rebutted in the first place. So third section, why our mechanism is gonna be better than opening government, and why it's gonna be tackled the worry of the opposition team side of the house. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. When we're talking about corruption, right? We're not only actually preventing more corruption. We're not only actually punishing those who already did it, but we also have to prevent more and more cases that is actually happening that is actually going to be happen under our country, right? Because when we're talking about some sort of a not that strong enough not that strong enough punishment, we're going to give them actually more chances to do it, and more chances to do it over and over again. Just take a look at how much political politician who actually already proven got red-handed that they did something like corruption, but then they still have able to go to the political that side of to the political connection, right? So these are the things that is actually we are going to cut, ladies and gentlemen. Our mechanism is actually going to prevent them from doing this kind of thing more and more. So this is actually the reason why our mechanism is going to be better than opening government, and why it's going to be tackle the worry of opening opposition. The fact that opening government does not include all kinds of corruption, the fact that the opening opposition is actually going to rehab those who are those ex-corruptors, but not preventing future corruptors to do it and to do the same kind of thing. So in here, we're actually going to not only punishing the corruptors, but also preventing more corruptors to be happen in the near future. That is all from me. Thank you.